Okay, hello everybody. I can't wait to see who comes today. I'm so excited to be here. I cannot believe it has been so long. It's been so long. But hello. As you come in, make sure you say hello in the comment area. This is my big comeback, I guess. It's been a very long time. A very, very long time. So, hi, Sherry. If you're watching this in replay, thank you so much for hanging out with me at a different time. Please let me know in the comments if you decide to hang with me in replay. I will make sure that I comment back. And like I said, too, if you're here live, make sure you say hello as well. My hair is looking very dark in this. I don't know if it's just me, but it's looking very, very dark, and it's not this dark. I'm liking it, but it's not this dark. Lots of things to talk about. Hi, Naomi. How are you doing? So nice to see you here. I kind of went through a bunch of your questions, and I kind of put them in order, in a certain order, I guess, to keep a flow. Hi, Lindsay. Thanks, Sherry. It's been so long. I keep forgetting about doing all these things, but I know I do them with DoubleBookedCo, but I guess I'm in a different state of mind when I'm doing that there too. But so I kind of went through everyone's questions and I kind of put them in order. I mean, the biggest and main thing for me today is to just really thank everyone for being so amazing the last couple of months. It's been really different, I think is the best word to say. I know for you all, it's been about 2 months that I've been gone. For me, it feels like 3 because I had a bunch of videos ready to go through like mid-April. So I haven't been making videos since the beginning of April. So it's been 3 months because my baby just turned 3 months. So it's been a long time. And though I have been doing a lot with DoubleBookedCo, I've been doing the live stuff. I feel like a live is different. But that's even been sometimes hard to do. So yeah. But I'm so happy to be back on this channel because this is where it all started. And this is something I really love to do. So I'm really happy to be back. But the love and support that I have seen from this community has just been really amazing, and I couldn't be more blessed. So I just want to thank you all so much for, sending me messages and, commenting on a lot of those videos, especially the video that I explained what was going on. That was really something. I was really I was nervous about posting that because I didn't want people to get the wrong idea. I was really just posting it because it is a big part of my life now. And you are all a big part of my life. So I thought it was just important to share. So the comments that were on that were very kind and supportive. And I just want to thank you all for that. So thank you very, very much. Hi, Misty. Oh, thank you. I missed my videos too. Hi, Pamela. So nice to see you. Hi, Laura. So I thought I would kind of get started with, and not necessarily things that people asked about, but maybe you're thinking, and I thought maybe it'd be a good place to start as far as like things that happened. So it's been a long while. And also, I just thought of this too, since we are celebrating 1,000 subscribers, which I never really got to do before leaving for maternity leave. There may be new people out there that have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. You will probably get a lot more information about me today of any day. So this is a really good place to start. But if you have any questions while we're here too, please feel free to just jump on in, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. But thank you for stopping by, and thank you for getting me over the 1,000 subscriber hump. I'm looking forward to what my next milestone will be. So getting back to my train of thought, which, as any mother out there knows, you lose it a lot. That train gets off that track quite often. But I kind of wanted to start with my birth story and hospital stay. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments, and I will be happy to get to those. Hello, Mary, Alicia, hello. Hi. So needless to say, everything in the pregnancy portion, so the 9 months of me being pregnant, had its ups and downs as far as it being a very regular/irregular pregnancy, because we found out so early on that our baby had heart disease, that it kind of put a shadow over a lot of things, but also reminded us to try to be normal, if that is even a thing. But it definitely made everything feel very irregular, and the expectation, or what I felt like were expectations that I had about pregnancy, all kind of went out the window. And I know that's pretty typical. We all think about what we see on TV or what we've read in books or whatnot. And we have a certain expectation about what our pregnancy is going to look like. And I feel like none of that was true for me. And some were good things, and some were kind of like, I wouldn't call them bad things, but they're just disappointments, in the sense that, no one ever wants to find out that their baby has an illness. Also, on the good side of that, like, I didn't really have a lot of symptoms that people regularly have with pregnancy. So I never threw up. I never had morning sickness, in the sense that you hear about. I more or less had, in the first trimester, just really being tired, really just being fatigued, and not having an appetite whatsoever. So it was really hard for me to try to eat, because I just really didn't feel like eating. And really throughout, I didn't have a lot of an appetite until the third trimester. And then I was not starving, but I just was really hungry. And when I would start to eat, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm really hungry. And I would eat more. So that was good. My husband was happy in the third trimester when I actually was eating food, because I really just didn't have an appetite for the majority of my pregnancy. I didn't really have any cravings. The main craving that I had, I would say, was cold food. I really wanted cold things, which kind of stunk because the majority of my pregnancy was in the winter. So it wasn't like you could get like cold watermelon or that kind of thing. So those were kind of the weird expectations, that, not that you expect, like, I want to have morning sickness, but you know what I mean. So getting into my birth story. So all of the doctors, so we've had to see and continue to see several doctors. So my main OBGYN, she really had nothing to do with my birth, except for the fact that she ran my regular appointments. So she was not the doctor that delivered my baby, because she had to be delivered at a different hospital with a whole team of surgeons and whatnot, specialists, not surgeons, specialists, in case anything were to happen. And so she was really just kind of like on the sidelines, trying to help me stay normal. And then our cardiologist for our baby was there too a lot of the times, and she actually goes between the hospital we had to deliver at and then where we are locally. So that's nice. But everyone kept telling me like, oh, are you going to breastfeed? And yeah, we're going to help you do what you want to do. And then since having the baby, like no one's letting me breastfeed. Like I have to pump and feed the baby from a bottle because with this, what is called the inner stage, between now and her surgery, everything has to be documented. So I have to document all of her feeding. So when you breastfeed, you can't do that because you don't know how much the baby's getting. I feel like I'm getting a little off topic. So stop me if you're like, Dani, this is boring. But anyways, with the birth story, so in the hospital, I had to be induced. So we were induced a week. So in week 39. And let me tell you, I hope I never have to get induced again because I hated it. There is a medication they give you called Pitocin, and it did not like me. It's supposed to give you the contractions, and it's going to help you dilate and all those kinds of things. And for me, my body was like, no, you don't like this, your baby doesn't like this, and we both were having issues with it. So for me, it would make me contract for like minutes on end. So there wasn't like that contraction and then you have a little bit of a delay and then the next contraction. It was just like 5 minutes solid of contracting. And yes, I did get an epidural, but at some point when the Pitocin was at its height of like contracting for like a nonstop, my epidural completely wore off. So I had to have those people come back into the room, try to get my epidural going again. And I was like writhing in pain, crying. I was shaking. My teeth were chattering. They had to keep turning me. Like, so I have an epidural. So if anyone's having an epidural, your whole below section, like you have hardly any movement. Like you can't really, you're not equipped to like move your body because it's paralyzed almost. And they kept having to rotate me because the baby's heart rate kept dropping. And it depended on like what side I was laying on. So I was in the hospital for a full 24 hours of this like going back and forth. So little to no sleep. At some point I couldn't eat anymore. And then finally when they started to let me push, I was pushing for 2 hours. And like she got to a certain point and then they're like, we have to bring in the forceps. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, why is this not like anything? And no one told me anything. At some point, someone came in and was like trying to tell me how I might have to have a C-section. It was the most dramatic, like crazy tornado of a labor birth story ever. Thankfully, everything went fine. We had no issues with the forceps. She came out okay. Crying and all that bit. We were able to do the skin to skin, which I was really worried that we weren't be able to do because they're like, we're going to be taking her right to the NICU. I had a 3rd degree tear, which if anyone knows what that is, yeah. So I was able to be with her for a little while before they took her to the side. And I mean, everyone, you all know, if you have watched me for long enough, you know I am a pretty modest person when it comes to like skin showing. Like I don't show any skin ever, maybe in my 20s, but oh my goodness, you have no dignity anymore when you have a baby. I mean, took us up in the air. I mean, at one point, God bless this nurse, because she came in, she's like, can we cover her up? Like, I was like, thank you. I'm like crying because I'm so embarrassed. And I get it. They're all professionals. No one's looking at it like that. But I am. And I'm in pain. So anywho, by the end, I was laughing and I should have not laughed because like, hours later when all of the medication wore off, I was like, oh, it hurts down there. But yeah, so they took her to the side. They're like 15 people. They're all kind of working on her, getting her all cleaned up, hooking her up all to the things because she had to go to the NICU then. And then my husband and I were there, and they're like clockwork. They're like, okay, well, you have about an hour to order your dinner, and then we got to get you to a different room. And I'm like, what? I have to move rooms now? I mean, they're like, get out of here. You've had the baby now? Scoot. So they got us to a different room. It was like 8:00. We had our dinner, which I can't believe I was already ready to eat, but I was really hungry because they like don't let you eat after a certain point in time. And I'm like, I'm so hungry. So we ate. And then I was like, I really want to see my baby. Like, where's my baby? So my husband wheeled me up to the NICU, and we got to meet her there. And she's just the most precious little thing. She had so much hair, and she still does have so much hair. It's the first thing anyone at all says. Like, so many people talk about her hair. And so if you recall, if you watch my channel, if you remember the vlogs, remember how I'd be like waking up and I'd had acid reflux and I couldn't sleep because it was so bad. The whole thing where people were saying like, oh, that usually means a baby has hair. Let me tell you, it definitely rang true in this instance because she has a ton of hair and she hasn't lost any of it. It's getting longer and longer. So, yeah, lots of hair. Lots and lots of hair. So that's kind of the birth story portion. The hospital stay, we were in the hospital with her for 21 days. At first, it felt like it was going okay, like being in the hospital. But I gotta tell you, towards the end, when they start to talk to you about like what needs to be done to get out, you feel like you're in prison. You feel like you're never going to be able to leave, that they're not going to let you leave unless she does this, this, and this. And then anytime she doesn't do it, you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to be in here for another week. It is crazy. Like, I couldn't take it anymore. And I was there over Easter, and for a few reasons, no one was able to come and visit us at Easter. So it was just me and my baby. I felt so alone. It was hard. It was hard. That was probably the longest 21 days of my life. What's up? Oh, it's in my bookshelf. It's under. If you go on the top shelf, it's just under some stuff. No, not the bookshelf, the book cart. Thanks. My husband needed the remote, and I put it in a special spot. So, anywho, it was the longest. It was the longest 21 days, and they move you. So we were in like 3 different areas. So first we were in the NICU, and we were really only there for like a day and a half. So we were there as long as I was in the recovery room, which I was only in the recovery room for like 2 days. And then they moved me out. Like, they kick you out. They give you 2 days and they're like, you're done. And then, and I'm like, okay, but I can't even walk. Like, I can hardly walk because it's so messed up down there. So I'm like getting wheeled everywhere. And so then they're like, we're going to move her. So then we were in what's called the cardiac ICU. So it's children who have heart issues. And so we're in the cardiac ICU, and then I ended up moving then to the Ronald McDonald House, which is a charity home, and you probably have it in your state, but it is a wonderful opportunity for those families who do not live in the area to have a place to stay while their family member is in the hospital. And thankfully, it's right across the street. They had this really cool skywalk that went across, so I could walk there if I stayed overnight, which was, I felt like a little old lady because I could hardly walk for a very long time. It took probably till the very end to walk like normal. So we were in the cardiac ICU for the rest of that time. And then the final step is like, it's called the step down floor, and it's basically where everything seems good, but you have like less touch of the nurses, so you're kind of taking care of the baby a little bit more, and like she's doing okay enough that she doesn't need like full on nurses care. And that was the toughest room to be in because yeah, no one's really monitoring. So then you're like, I don't know, am I supposed to like ask for the bottle, or is someone going to bring something, or like it was so confusing because no one really tells you what the difference is. They kind of just expect you to read all these pieces of paper and like understand what they mean. So I had to end up asking a nurse. I'm like, I feel really dumb, but can you please explain to me like what the deal is here? Because I felt like I couldn't even go back to the Ronald McDonald House. Like I had to be there all the time. And let me tell you, those sofas and sleeper beds that they have in the hospital that they say you can sleep on, they suck. They're terrible. They are terrible. But I've slept on them many a night, or slept on them. Because that's the other thing with hospital. No matter nurse, doctor, lactation consultant, speech therapist, the interstage team people that I meet with, no one cares if you're sleeping. If they come in the room and you're sleeping, they will wake you up. You are on their time. There's no like, oh, she's a new mom and she's exhausted, so we should let her sleep. It's all, oh, I have to go in there and tell her about this one thing. I'm going to go in and just start talking. Now the baby's awake and now the mom's awake. Yay. That was probably my biggest complaint, is that anytime someone came in the room, they would just talk normal and then wake up the baby like it was no big deal. And then if I was sleeping and they had something they needed to talk to me about, they would just wake me up instead of like trying to come back later. That was probably my biggest pet peeve. But all in all, I have a healthy-ish baby. I mean, obviously she has heart disease, but all the doctors were awesome. All the nurses, a couple there I could have left to the side, were awesome. My interstage team is awesome. So it's all good. It's all good. So that's my birth story hospital stay, and it doesn't end there. Obviously, we do have her major surgery. So this is like the thing we've been working up to, coming up in August. So we will be at the hospital again. I will be at Ronald McDonald again. But this time it should only be about 8 to 10 days. So I'm really hoping that that's the case, because I don't know if I can do another long stay. I mean, I would, but man, it's like prison, because you just can't, you can't leave. I mean, I guess you could, but like, I don't want to leave my baby. Yeah. Anywho, that was a long roundabout way of telling you my birth story, but I thought maybe you wanted to know. So as I was talking, I missed a few of you. So hi, Beth. It's nice to see you. Yes, Lindsay, it's not fun at all. In the very beginning, I'm just like, oh, this isn't bad. Like, I'm just chilling. I mean, there's a couple of meals we had to get. So I'm like, wow, hospital food isn't that bad. And I was reading a little bit. My husband was watching TV. I was sleeping a little bit. But then I had this one doctor in the middle of the night who was checking to see how dilated I was. And I think she set off certain like line of events that really made the rest of my time just horrible. My husband was so mad. He is like, you need to hold on until it's off of her shift, and then you need to have this baby before third shift hits again, because I do not want that person delivering the baby. And I'm like, yeah. She was terrible. I mean, I was crying when she left the room. It was not good. It was not a good situation. So I'm really happy she wasn't there to deliver, because she was terrible. But yes, at first it was like, this is going to be great. And then at the end I was like, wow, I really hope I don't have to be induced again, because I don't like this. And it's not the worst induction story. I've heard worse. But, and obviously now, you know, hindsight, it wasn't that terrible, but in the moment, it is like stinks. It stinks hard. Yes, Melissa, you are completely correct. I was never alone. I had all of my, you know, friends and family, you know, texting and saying hello and stuff. I think it's very similar to, if we all remember the pandemic when we were all in lockdown and you feel so isolated and it's hard to, like, even though there's people around you and, you know, I would talk to the nurses and stuff, and my mom came often as she could, and my husband would come like over the weekends, because obviously we can't afford to not have someone work, because I already don't work. So I mean, you are never alone, but it does feel like it for sure. You obviously need to spill and we're here to listen. Oh, well, thank you, Pamela. I know I've told the story a little bit here and there, but I try to keep it to myself because, I mean, who really cares? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Not everyone, but people have their birth stories. I always like when I talk to some older female family members, and they're always like, yep, I told you so, or, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I don't, whatever. Yes, thank you, Naomi. Thank you for saying that. So yeah, it was interesting. It was very interesting. And I expected most of it. And I think the one thing that no matter who you are, you never can prepare yourself to see your baby hooked up to a bunch of machines and drips, and like, they're so small, they're so tiny, and then you see like IVs coming out of their hands and like patches of stuff everywhere. And, you know, thankfully she never really had to have like a feeding tube or anything like that. But I mean, it was really hard for me because you couldn't really nurture them, in the sense of like, I couldn't just go and pick her up. I had to like call a nurse, and then we had to like get all of her tubes and all of the stuff that she's attached to all like figured out. And then I had to make sure the chair was so close so that when they like came over and gave her to me, so it was like a big deal to be able to hold the baby, which really was hard for me because there were a lot of times where I was just like, well, I can't really do anything. And they would always ask me if I wanted to feed her. And sometimes I was just like, no, because it's like a whole, you know, thing just to even get her up and out, when they were just so quick about it. And yeah, don't even get me started on having to pump and all that jazz, because here I thought I was going to be breastfeeding my baby, and they're like, oh no, you can't do that. You gotta pump. They want you to have the breast milk for the baby, but they don't want you to breastfeed because they need to know how much she's eating. So that was really frustrating, because I wish somebody would have just said that on the get-go. And I kind of had a feeling, like, I kind of thought that in the back of my head. I'm just like, I just don't understand how that's going to be a possibility, because I feel like they're going to want to know how much she's eating, because she needs to have a certain growth rate. And I'm pretty sure that's directly correlated to how much she eats. So in the back of my head, I was like prepared for it. But when it actually is happening to you after nobody has said anything about it, it's really frustrating. But anywho, let's get away from that. It was crazy, but completely worth it. So I just wanted to jump into a few. There was one question that kind of like fit in this section. And that is, will I tell you the baby's name? And though I am very humbled and, you know, I really appreciate you all. I don't feel like that is something that I'm going to share publicly. Though you are all feel like family and friends and we're in this close community here, I am still on a global stage. So people can access me globally. And I just don't want to fall into a trap of somebody finding me, and my family. And if you notice, I really don't say any names of anyone in my family except for me. And I just feel on the safe route, personal information like that, I do want to keep to myself. I am trying to be as open as I can with you all. I like to be authentic with you and genuine. However, I do want to keep me and my family safe. And that includes that kind of specific information. So on the channel, if I ever refer to my baby, I will just be calling her Baby G. And probably as she gets older, just Gigi. Baby girl, Baby G, Gigi. That's what I figure I'm going to do for the channel. So I do apologize if that offends anyone, but that's just something that I feel is right to do. And that protects her personal information as well, just because who knows, when she's a little bit older, maybe she doesn't want to be on the internet. Maybe she doesn't want her information out there. And I don't want to have taken that away from her. So that's just my feeling on it. Everyone else can do what they want to do and what they feel comfortable with. But that's what I feel comfortable with. So that's kind of it to answer that question. So the next section of what I had planned here and what some questions kind of went along with is home life, routines, and schedules since I've been home. Which, if you're a mom and you remember newborns, there is no such thing as routine and schedules because it seems to change every single day. And Teresa asked if we have a schedule and do I have time to listen to audio while I'm with the baby, or am I still catching up on lots of rest? So for me, I would say the worst was the first couple weeks being home, because it was going from, having a nurse specifically helping with everything. And not that I don't know how to do any of that stuff, but being on a stage basically for 21 days and then coming home and being completely by myself. But at the same time, having doctors and the interstage team constantly calling me. So never really feeling like I was on my own. So I always felt like I had to answer to everybody as opposed to just doing my own thing. I still feel like that sometimes. I'm always very paranoid that I'm not doing the right thing according to this interstage team, which is the team that is helping me between birth and her major surgery. So I almost feel like there's things that I would do if I would have just been on my own and just had a not sick baby. But at the same time, the farther out we get, the more scheduled and routine I feel. I feel like I'm starting to get back to me. As you know, I love making lists. I love, having a schedule. I love having things that I am checking off a list and doing every day. The farther in I get, the more real that is becoming. The farther she goes, which, by the way, she's doing very well. The doctors are very happy with her progress. So that allows us to have less doctor's appointments, which is great. And I'm able to kind of get a little bit more control over my schedule. There's still a lot of things I wish I was able to do during the day, but I'm also seeing that there are more opportunities the older she gets. She is I wouldn't say she's a needy baby. I wouldn't call her a needy baby, but I would say that she prefers to be held over sleeping in like her pack and play or bassinet or whatever during the day. Like at night, she's fine. Like I think in her head, she knows like it is nighttime. This is my nighttime sleeping area. But like during the day, if I try to put her in her bed, not having it. Like she wakes up instantly and like does not want to fall back asleep. So I have to like lay her in our bed, which is, you know, made and everything. So it's flat, and I put down one of her blankets and then I surround her, and then I'm usually sitting right there. But I don't feel comfortable like walking away from her in that situation. So then I have to stay there. So then I have to carry all of whatever I want to work on up in that area so that I can watch her, so that like I know she's not rolling yet or anything like that, but like that's my fear, is like this is the day she's gonna roll. So everything takes forever. On top of that, because of her schedule as far as like eating, I have to feed her. Well, I'm supposed to feed her every 3 hours. They want me to feed her every 3 hours, which is a typical newborn schedule. But as they get older and they eat more, they can tend to go a little bit longer, especially at nighttime. But this interstage team is like obsessed with her intake. So they're constantly on me. I have dropped one feed. So every 3 hours is technically 8 feeds a day. We only get 7 in because she sleeps longer at night, and I don't want to like have to wake her up to eat. I did when she was a lot smaller, like, and she's only 3 months old, so it's not like this has been a long time. But when she has to be woken up to eat, she's still sleeping. So it's really hard to have her finish that bottle. So I've cut one feed out, but because I cut that one feed out, I have to be really careful to not miss any other feeds, even if she's like sleeping or we're traveling somewhere. So it's really stressful to make sure that 1, I have a bottle ready, and 2, I have to then pump. So usually I'm like behind her, so she'll eat, and that bottle was ready from the last time I pumped. Because, oh, by the way, did I mention that I was an undersupplier as far as breast milk goes? Now I'm just enougher. Oh, so painful. Anywho, so I'm literally only keeping up with her with bottles, which is fabulous. I don't have to do formula, because if anyone knows out there, there's a huge formula shortage. And we do need formula because we have to fortify her feed. So she needs like more calories. Oh, I feel like I'm doing a huge info dump on you all, and I hope that you're okay with that. I'll make this short. My schedule, I'll get a few days of it working well, and then something will cause that to go upside down, which is perfectly okay, because then I just pivot and that becomes a new schedule. So it's just being able to roll with it, being able to prioritize. So anytime like I have just fed her and then I have pumped and gotten that next bottle ready, I go, okay, I have 2 more hours. What can I do in these 2 hours while she's sleeping, while she's sitting nice? Or there's been times where that 2 hours, I literally just lay with her. And maybe I'm sleeping, maybe I'm not, but I'll just chill because she clearly just wants to sit and chill. And that's what I'll do. So you have to be flexible because there is no schedule with a baby. Other than like, I need to feed you at this time. So to answer the second part of that question, long time around the pond there, I tried to start to listen to audio while I was feeding her, and I wasn't using headphones because I wanted to be able to still hear her, like, because you have to be able to hear if she's like gulping or like sucking, or if there's like not suction. It's a whole thing. So I'm like, I can't wear headphones. So I tried to like have an audiobook on my phone playing while I was feeding her. And boy, was that a mistake. Because if you all know, I read at like a 2 point or 2.5 speed on audiobooks. Baby girl does not like that. As soon as it would start, she'd be like totally not liking it, like gets really upset because it's so fast. It's like it sounds crazy if you're not used to it. So I stopped doing that. So I really cannot listen to audiobooks while I'm with her doing stuff, because she freaks out because it sounds so crazy. And I totally get that. And that's okay. I have found other times to listen to audio. So we'll get to that. Catching up on rest, I will say it gets easier. Like when I first came home, I was sleep deprived. It was terrible. I just really didn't know what I was going to do. Like, I'm like, I can't keep getting up in the middle of the night to feed and then to pump. I'm only getting anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours of sleep at any one time. But as she gets older and easier and sleeps longer at night, and your body like acclimates to the lack of sleep, to the short intervals of sleep, it has gotten a lot easier. Now, my biggest lump of time sleeping is like 4.5 hours, which I can tell you is fantastic. And there are times still where I wake up and I'm like, I'm so tired, but it gets easier. So I'm happy for that. I'm happy it has gotten easier. Tara asked, what has been the most unexpected part of mommyhood? So like Tara, she had a baby about a year ago, and she comes from a little bit of a bigger family, and she had mentioned that, she felt pretty prepared for a lot of that. And I did too. I've been a stepmom for several years, but I think she was 7 when me and my husband got together. So, I mean, I've been a mom of a adolescent to teenager now. So never infant, but I have 3 younger brothers. I've been around a lot of babies, so I felt pretty prepared for all of that. I still feel like I'm doing okay. Like nothing's been unexpected to me. Obviously, the illness was unexpected, and what we have to do to keep her healthy during this interstage part was unexpected. But at the same time, like, I feel like my personality has always been like, well, whatever, like I have to do this. So instead of getting really upset about it and like really like just hyper focusing on it, what do I need to do? Like, what do we need to do and move on? Like, what is the next step? What are the things that you need me to do? So I focus more on the what needs to be done rather than the, oh, this is happening. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I'm not sure. But that's how I cope with the unexpected. Like, okay, this is happening. It really stinks. But what do I need to do? Because if I can focus on the what do I need to do, the what is happening doesn't feel as bad. So, yeah. That's how I'm going to answer that question. I don't know if there's anything else unexpected. Everything has been pretty normal. I guess the only thing, and maybe it's just because of the way that it's been, like, I feel like I have a little science experiment, that I have at home, like, because I have to do all of these things with her. And if you want to know what that is, like, I have to weigh her in the morning. I have to take her stats. So that means I have to like put this little thing on her foot, and it tells me what her heart rate is, and it tells me what her oxygen level is. I have to give her 3 medications in the morning and 1 at night. So it's like all these little things. So I had to constantly remind myself, like, I still have a baby. Like, so I think that's probably the only thing that's been unexpected. Like, I don't feel like I've had the same bonding experience as I would have had she not been ill. But that is also getting easier as time goes on. I keep trying to remind myself, like, she's a baby first and a science experiment second. That sounds terrible. I hope she never sees this. In the same category, we had Maria asked, how's your beautiful daughter? How are you and your husband doing? So I've kind of been talking a little bit about this. She's doing really well. So far she's had to have 2 interventions. So anytime they talk about like a surgery, they call it an intervention, which sounds like the show Intervention. I don't think they think about that when they call that. But she's had 2 cath lab like procedures, I guess, which means it goes in through like a vein or an artery. So the first one went through her neck and the second one went through her groin. And they did things with her heart to put in what's called a stent. So it basically just makes the valve or the artery that they're working on stay open or open more so that blood flow can get in a little bit better. The first one was to keep a duct open that usually dissolves after like 72 hours for babies. It's what keeps the blood from going into the lungs while they're in the womb, because when they're in the womb, no blood goes through the lungs because you're breathing for them. So that was kept open so that stuff could continue to move. And then the second one was put in not too long ago because they were trying to relieve a little bit of the pressure to the lungs, because the operation that she's going to be getting, which is called the Glen, is a low pressure operation, low pressure system. So she needed to not have very high pressure, and that has helped a lot. And I can tell you that was scary because I didn't really realize what we were coming to the hospital for. Because sometimes the doctors like to just say things to you, but they're not saying it to you like you're not a doctor too. So I didn't really know what we were coming for. And then I was like, oh, she's getting a legit procedure. So that was scary. I never like seeing her in that little bed with all those things attached to her. And this time too, she was super bruised in the area that they did it. And it's really sad. Anyone who has kids or really close family members, it is hard to see people in those situations. And I'm real nervous about the surgery because that's where they actually open her up. She's going to have a big zipper scar essentially. And I'm just, yeah. But it's going to be a very finite moment of our life. We will move on. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. So myself and my husband, we're doing good. He's working a lot. With the summer, he does landscaping, so he's been really busy. So it's been mostly me. My stepdaughter's been working a little bit more as well. So it's just been me and the baby at home, and the dogs. I'm doing good. I'm just kind of trying to figure things out, trying to do things with DoubleBookedCo, trying to read, trying to figure things out, which again, like I said before, it's like an everyday thing. It just changes so much. So yeah, I feel like I'm missing a few little things here. So I just want to make sure. Misty says, I know a lady who said that when her baby was in NICU, they felt like their bond with the baby wasn't as immediate because nurses and doctor were talking about it. Yeah. And I would say that is very true. And it's not so much that like they're solely taking care of the baby, because it's not really how it is, especially when they're so young. They sleep a lot in the NICU and the ICU. But if you think about it, if they would have been home, like I would have been holding her like way more. Like it would have been way more. And the breastfeeding piece and just all those things that you think you're going to have, they really don't exist during that time because it's so hard to navigate that with the amount of things that they're attached to. And don't get me wrong, those nurses, they, especially at the hospital that I was at, they try their darndest to help you with those things, and they will, get all that, together so that you can hold her. I mean, they really try hard, but it is hard. And at some point too, you're just kind of like, well, forget about it. It's whatever. And I tried to do the skin to skin, and I think I did it like 3 times, and it was just getting to be too much. It was too hard to try to get her to a certain spot. It was just too hard. So then I stopped doing that too. So there's a lot of things that you miss out on because it just doesn't work out. But they do really try. They do. Hi, Jenna. Nice to see you. You are the real life Marilla from Anne of Green Gables. I am. Before going to the hospital, I read for the first time Anne of Green Gables, and I feel like I am her. Like, I really do. Other than the fact that this is my real baby. But yeah, for sure. That's so funny that you bring that up. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say you should. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. I know, and I can say too, thank you, Jenna, for sharing that. When I posted the video that I explained what was happening, there were several of you out there that mentioned that you yourself had something like this, or your own children had something like this, and to hear from adults who have a similar situation, or children that are much older, it put me more at ease to know, like, because your doctor can sit there and say, oh yeah, they've been doing this surgery for 50 years. So, they've worked out all, they've been working on it for a while. And, oh, I've had patients that are this and patients that are this. But at the same time, you're just like, but it's my baby. And it's kind of like that, but it does really help. So thank you, Jenna, for sharing that. And thank you for anyone else out there. I know, Melissa, you had mentioned this being very close to your family as well. And Sarah from the Bookish Knitter reached out to me, and there's a couple of other people too that mentioned having this very close to themselves as well. So I really appreciate that. That really does help. Yeah, it really does. So yeah, we're doing just fine. And Misty asked, how's your stepdaughter like being a bigger sister? So her biological mother has 2 other children, and so she's already kind of had that experience. And I wouldn't say it was like a very good experience, just at the age level that they were all at while they were in contact with one another, because we have full custody of her now. So she doesn't really see them. Anywho, she didn't really like having siblings. So when she found out that we were pregnant, she was kind of just like, I'm happy for you. And we're like, this is a family thing. And she's just kind of like, she kind of separates herself from us as far as like a family unit. However, I continue to try to have them in the same room and kind of tell her how to kind of bond with her, and it is getting better. She does refer to her more, and she does kind of talk to her a little bit, but like I have to request that she hold her, or I have to request that she does stuff with her. At the same time, she is 15. She's a teenager. She's in her own little world. So I'm not offended, nor am I put off that she really doesn't seem to care all that much. So it is what it is. Let's change this topic up to my reading. Ermagerd. So if you were following my channel previously, I had not only a delivery room TBR, but then I had an April TBR. let's just say there was no time for reading. Like, even though I was in the hospital for 21 days, I will never forget that number, 21 days, I hardly had time for reading. There's like no time for reading. Even when you would like start to read, someone would come in and bother you. Like, some doctor would come in and want to talk to me about something. Some genetics person would want to come in and talk to me about something. The lactation consultant would want to come in and talk about something. The speech therapist would come in. I mean, every day it was like nonstop revolving door. So there was never a time, because now remember, every 3 hours I'm supposed to feed the baby. Every 3 hours I need to pump. So say you're starting. So you have feeding, which takes anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes with the baby that little and with her issues. Then I would have to pump. And at the time, you'd have to like pump for like 30 minutes. So that's a full hour. It's a full hour every 3 hours. So then the 2 hours that you have to like figure out what you're going to do for that time, sometimes I would just pass out because I'm so tired. Or I would try to start reading, but then this doctor would come in, or this nurse would come in, or this person would come in, or my mom would visit, or, or I'm like, oh, maybe I should go and try to eat something. Let's just say I really did not eat a lot, because you're kind of on your own because you're not the patient anymore. So I had food. The Ronald McDonald House kind of has food there, and you can bring your own food. You have refrigerator space and whatnot, but like fully underprepared for that. So I didn't eat too much while I was there, which is terrible, especially being breastfeeding and whatnot, pumping. But there was like no time for reading. I think the only thing I got finished at the hospital in the time that I was there was my book club book, This Tender Land, for my book club. And I brought a ton of books. I had a whole bag of books, a whole bag. And I finished one book. I was so disappointed because I was like, if I'm going to be stuck in the hospital, at least I can read. No, there was no time for reading. There are so many people talking to you. And granted, I never had the TV on. Like, they had a TV in the back. I never had it on, ever. I tried to read. I would have the book out. I would have the book open. And people would just start coming in and talking to me. And I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to read this. And if you're anything like me, if you start trying to read something and then you keep getting interrupted, you're just like, I can't even bring my headspace back into this book. So I'm just going to set it down. I did try to start reading a Nora Roberts book, but again, I got like, I think 40 pages in and I just ended up leaving it, or not leaving it there, but like stopping it. I tried to do like audiobooks while I was pumping. Nope. Every time I would pump, get this, people, they will come and talk to you while you are pumping. I had a janitorial staff open the curtain and be like, can we clean in here? And I'm like, why is the curtain shut? I thought when I shut the curtain, I get privacy to do whatever I'm doing. Nope, no one cares. They just pretend like it's a privacy curtain. They will pull it back anytime. And at this point, again, remember, I'm a modest person. Modesty's out the window. I'll like have full-on conversations while I'm pumping because everyone needs to talk to me all of the time. Rant over. So within this section, there is actually a couple questions. So let's kind of get to that. I may have already answered a few of them. Or Elsa asked, did you have time to read anything during your time away from us? So while at the hospital, no. I had no time while at the hospital. Since then, I have had more time to read. I'm definitely not reading as much as I did before baby, but I definitely have more time to read. And I'm feeling good about it because though they're books that like I have on lists or TBRs, I feel like I'm picking up books that I want to read as opposed to books that I need to read because of certain things. So that's been really nice. Like I said, I've probably only finished 1 or 2 books a month. But it's still, it's not like I'm not reading, which is nice. I am still getting books read. I'm figuring out the audiobook thing because now I'm like listening to audiobooks when I pump in the middle of the night. So when I go downstairs and I'm in the dark all by myself, I will listen to an audiobook while I'm pumping. So I get about 20 minutes of an audiobook during that time, which is nice because then it keeps me company. But yeah, I've been watching a lot more TV and YouTube, which I hardly ever watched TV before. And now I'm like watching a lot of TV, which is really crazy. But yeah. Where am I? Here. Oh, Jenna. You're so funny saying you're disappointed for fish. I feel like you're in your cheer. Oh no. I mean, I used to read a lot of books, so I'm like really sad that I really thought I was gonna get like at least a book or two done a week because I was gonna be there for so long, and yeah, just doesn't happen. Hi Melissa. Give me flashbacks postpartum hospital. They don't. And you know, it kills me because especially so immediately, like the day after you have a baby, like the hours after you have a baby, that nurse is in there like clockwork. She is in there every 3 hours, waking you up to attach you to the pump, of which you're not getting anything because for me, like I didn't get anything until like 5 days in. So I'm just like pumping my areas to no avail. Like there's nothing happening. And I'm like, why am I being woken up for this? And then to give you your medication, your pain medication, because you can take so much ibuprofen and then you can take so much aspirin. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. And she would just be like, she would just tap me on the shoulder. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just want to sleep. Like the baby's not even here yet. Like she's in the NICU. Can I just sleep? Yeah, there is no more sleep when you have babies. No more sleep. Your sleep is over. Don't expect to sleep ever again. And I'm going to go ahead and do this here. Sorry about that, everyone. If you saw that in the comments, we got some creepers. Thank you, Debbie. Doing great. Yeah. It would have been crazy, but it would have been nice too. So yeah, it just that no one leaves you alone. You're on their clock. Let's see here. And then Sarah over at the Bookish Knitter. How much reading have you gotten done? And do you have a favorite book you read during maternity leave? So like I said, after I left the hospital, definitely more time for reading. And like I said, I did more audio reading as well. And I think it's not like I have a favorite book, but I think the most accomplished read that I finished that I'm really excited is I finally finished Kristen Lavenstatter. The fact that I finally finished that series, it took me a whole year to finish that last book from my buddy read. I felt so bad, but I was finally able to finish that series. And though I complained about a lot, like the redundancy and the repetitiveness of that final book, once I was done with it, you guys, that is a really fantastic trilogy, like a medieval trilogy saga, epic saga. After it was all said and done, like I think about that family so much. And not that Kristen was my favorite character in the whole read, but just to have a book series that so carefully documents a lifetime, it was really good. I really liked it a lot. So though I wouldn't like necessarily be like, oh, it was my favorite book that I read while I was gone, I'm just really happy that I finished it. I'm really happy that it's over. And I'm really pleased with the fact that I read it. I think it was great. Now that I'm done with it, of course. But other books that I've read too, like I really liked This Tender Land. I thought that was really good. I read The English Wife, which I was really intrigued with. That is by Lauren Willig. So it's called The English Wife. I listened to it on audio, and it was really intriguing, and it was going places I didn't quite know which direction it was going to go. And by the time it ended, I kind of figured it out a little bit, but it was really good. That's like set in early 1900s London, and it's set in two different timelines. The timelines kind of collide. But the timelines aren't like vastly different. It's just two different perspectives, and one just like a couple years prior, and then it kind of comes to the end of this one. Two people get murdered. Yeah, two people get murdered in the very first, like the prologue, and then that sets off the rest of the book. So that was a really interesting one that I read. I read so in the last couple of years, I read all of Penny Reid's Beard books. And I listened to the Beardy bonus, and I thought that was crap. I didn't think it was very good. I didn't think it added anything to the series, which was terrible, because I'm like, I just spent an hour and a half of my life listening to this, and I don't even know what I just listened to. So that kind of was stinky. But yeah, and then I read a couple more books, some audio, some physical. I've started a few other ones. Yeah, I DNF'd one, I think. Yeah, just the one. But I'm keeping up with reading. I'm just kind of all over the place, really. I should do like a currently reading video and like gather up all the books that I've read, because I have not been keeping track, which is terrible, because I'm usually really good about that. Misty, it's funny they tell you need plenty of rest and yet wake you up every few minutes. Truth. Like, oh my goodness. You would have, it was crazy. You would have the lactation consultant come in and wake you up, and then sit there and say, you need to get plenty of water and you need to get plenty of rest. When you get home, you might want to ask somebody to help you with meals and all these things. And I'm like, lady, I was asleep for 5 minutes and you came in and woke me up. Do you see the problem here? Yeah, everybody wakes you up all the live long day. And the funny thing too is, like, when they call me now, because I still have people that call me, they always are like, oh, I'm sorry, did I wake you up? And I'm like, I want to be like, yes, you did. It's 2:30 in the afternoon and I was sleeping and you woke me up. Sometimes they do, but I don't say that. I just go, oh no, I'm just hanging out. Anywho, Jenna, I meant to tell you, you read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder? Because I talked about it, loved it. Format was interesting. It is interesting. Keep going. It gets so much better. And when you finish it, it is fantastic. Naomi, if you're still here in the comments, she can attest to that. We read it together. I read that. If you put it all together, we read that trilogy in 6 days, because we could not put that down. Now, it wasn't all 6 days in one, but we read the first one in 2 days, the next one in 2 days, and the third one in 2 days, because it's so flippin' good. Holly Jackson knew what she was doing with those books. They are fantastic. There's obviously little things that I would nitpick in each one, but they were fantastic. Those books were so good. So good. And yes, the format is interesting. I would say if anyone was reading those books, try not to read them on audio, because it's a mixed media. So there are things in there that you would want to see it, the way in which it is presented, because there's like emails, there's text messages, there's like little pictures, or court documents, those kinds of things that are in the book. So I would highly recommend that you actually physically read that book. Fantastic. Thank you for bringing that up, because that was a fantastic book. But I finished that before I left. So, and yes, Laura, Bridgerton. So I did start the Bridgerton series on audiobook. So that's a book series that I'm listening to in the middle of the night when I am pumping. And let me tell you all, I do not know how that book series got a TV series. Like, I really don't understand how it got made into a show, because I've read the first 2 books. I just finished the second one last night, and they're not great. They're kind of like, oh, that was a book. And the first 2 have like the same storyline. Like, they're the same things happen. And you're like, oh, is this how all of the books are going to be? Because if it is, I'm not reading 8 more books. However, I've been told they get better, which I will continue, and that's fine, because I do kind of want to stay ahead of the show, because let me tell you, I love the show. I really do love the show. I really liked the first season way more than the second season. The second season was good, but like, when you compare it to the first season, you're just kind of like, that's what they went with? But then when you read the book, you're like, whoa, that's not at all what happened in the book. The characters' names are correct, but that's not even what happened in the book. But I would say I like what they did in the show a lot better. There's more drama. It's more compelling. There's more at stake. Yeah. So that's all I'll say about that. See, Naomi completely agrees with me about Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It is super addictive. And yes, me too. I usually don't read YA books. But yeah, it's good. Yes, read it and then get your hands on the third one, because the third one will blow your mind. Blow it up. It blows it up like that emoji. Crazy. Misty, your brother was in the NICU for 3 months, and I was, oh my goodness, for 6 months. I'm so sorry to hear that. And while it's happening, it feels like forever. And once it's over, it really truly is like a little blip on the timeline. But yeah, I know my youngest brother was a preemie, and I can't remember how long he was in the NICU, but yeah. I mean, and medical miracles, the technology that they have, the doctors, they're so amazing. So I'm hoping that in your situation that they probably were really great too. Jenna, Where the Crawdads Sing comes out in theaters near me next week. Did you have a chance? I have not read it. And the reason I have not yet read that book is because it is a hyped book. I have a real hard time reading books that are really big at the time, because they always end up disappointing me, because I have this huge idea of what they're going to be like in my mind because of what everyone is saying. And I get my expectation becomes so high that when I read it, I'm like, oh, that's it? Like, that's what people were talking about. So now, especially because there's a movie, I will probably wait several years before reading that book. But I have heard good things. I've actually heard mixed reviews on that one, so I'll probably wait on that. But yeah, good luck. Yes, Pamela. Wet towel is so true. They are so well. And see, the biggest thing that I'm having an issue with these books is I'm listening to them on audio, which isn't the issue. The issue is the narrator for my audiobooks is terrible. She's terrible. All of the men just sound so ridiculous. Like, it really sounds like a woman trying to make a man's voice. And I get that's what's happening, but I've heard other audiobooks that are led by female narrators, and when they like alter their voice for a man's voice, it doesn't sound dopey. Like this, they all sound dopey. They just sound dumb. And that's terrible to say, but it is. So I have to like get over that part. And then the fact that the writing is just kind of like, oh, well, so we're just going to have 2 books about how they had to get married because they were caught in a compromising situation. I wonder what the third one's going to be about. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel. Oh, hello, Kim. Thank you. No problem. I can't believe I'm already over an hour. I only thought I was going to be here for an hour, and here I am already over into the 15-minute mark. And I feel like I'm only halfway through, but I'm going to try to do better. So if you're still here, thank you so much. I really love chatting with you all. Can you tell I've been like pent up, like no one to talk to, and now here I am just like blabbing like a million miles a minute? Anywho, Kim, because of you, I recently listened to American Cuisine by Paul Freeman. Is that who wrote it? I think so. I'm not going to look it up. I'm going to go with that. So I listened to that on audiobook and I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. What I liked about it most is a lot of it I was familiar with because I love the History Channel show Food That Built America. I think that's what it's called. I've been watching that on Hulu and it's fantastic. I love that show. So when I was listening to American Cuisine, a lot of the things that I had already learned from that show, he mentions and builds more on. And it was so cool because I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what he's talking about. So that made it way more interesting to me. And it made it a lot more comprehensible because I could imagine if I had no idea what he's talking about, some of it would get a little lost in my mind. Like, oh, I don't really care about the Green Book or, Hershey or McDonald's. And so it was kind of cool that I already knew a lot, but he was able to build more on those topics. So I did really like that. The only thing I would say is with it being an audiobook, the parts where he would list off like the foods of that region, because if you're not familiar with that book, so it's called American Cuisine, and then there's a subtext of like food and where it comes from or something like that. So he's talking about different regions in America and like what food they're known for and whatnot. But there's portions where he like lists off food. So it's really weird because you're just listening to like mashed potatoes, grits, collard greens, cornbread. And you're just like, okay, can we just get to the next part of the chapter? So that was what was weird reading it in an audio version. But other than that, I really liked that book. It was really good. Totally agree with you. Hyped books, read more of this. I mean, I think you're three. Okay, yeah. So kind of a meh feeling. The movie, I mean, I've seen the preview numerous times because it keeps popping up on my YouTube app. It looks decent. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. And, Reese Witherspoon is behind it. So it will probably be somewhat decent. But, oh, good. Oh, good. I was right. So here's the full title if anybody's interested. American Cuisine and How It Got This Way by Paul Freeman. And yes, that show is fantastic. And I usually am right about books. So I'm glad you can back me up on that. Let's see here. Where were we? I think this is the next question, and I've kind of answered that a little bit. So Coffee Loving Maria from Instagram, she had asked, what have I been reading? I guess I didn't kind of answer that. I mean, I talked about stuff that I had already read. So right now what I'm reading, so I'm still trying to finish The Other Boleyn Girl, which I have been reading every once in a while, but I'm still only halfway done. I'm still reading Eye of the World, which I have not touched at all. But I don't want to DNF it because I do really want to read it, and I don't want to DNF The Other Boleyn Girl because every time I pick it up, I freaking love it. It's so good. But it's just so big, so it's like overwhelming. So like I pause and I stop, and then I don't look at it for a while. This month, if you're interested, DoubleBookedCo's book club pick, because it's my birthday month, I got to pick my book. We're reading Jenny Colgan's Welcome to Rosie Hopkins' Sweet Shop of Dreams. So I'll be picking that up. What else am I reading? Oh, on my ride to 4th of July get-together, I started reading July by Tim O'Brien. If you're familiar with Tim O'Brien, he wrote The Things They Carried, which is a wartime book, which is fantastic. I don't know. I was just like, it's July. I'm going to read July. And I started reading it, and I really like it. And then I never read it past what I read in the car. So I have to go grab that book and start reading that again. But it's really good. It's about these people who have all come together for a high school reunion, like a 20-year high school reunion. And then the chapter, so it'll be a chapter about the high school reunion. It'll be from like certain people's perspectives. And then the next chapter will be back like in the past with one of those characters. So like one of them, we had the guy who he's an amputee. So in his flashback, we see him in Vietnam and that kind of thing. And then there was another one that it was a flashback with one of the women. But in the beginning, which I'm like really hoping they get to soon, there's these two women that are talking about how this woman got murdered. And they're just talking about it like it's nothing. Like it's just oh yeah, wouldn't it be that this person gets murdered? Like that's just her. Like she would get herself murdered. And I'm just like, what? And then it's not brought up again. And I'm like, I want to know, like, is this going to be about this woman's murder? So I do really like that book, but I set it down and I'm not reading again. So now it's like, oh, I want to pick that up again. So that again was Tim O'Brien's July. Like I said, I just finished the Bridgerton book. So now tonight when I'm pumping, I will be listening to the third in the Bridgerton books, which I think is about Penelope and Colin, which I think I'm going to like because I do like Colin and I like Penelope. But see, I like the Colin and Penelope in the show. The Colin in the book seems really young and kind of like flighty. So we'll see what he's like in his own book. But I am interested in seeing how it goes. And then I think that's it right now. I think that's all I'm currently reading. Let's see. Jeanette asked, have you figured out how to prop a book up while you're holding The Precious Human? Oh, that brings me to the other book I'm reading. So I tried really hard to not prop a book, but like hold a book, because the way I hold her, she likes to be on this side. So I have this hand available. So you'd think I'd be able to hold a book. But then if I'm holding that book and then I'm going to turn a page, she gets all agitated. She doesn't like things like... She likes things the way she likes things. So I'm not able to really hold a book. However, I'm able to hold my phone. So I've started to read an ebook. And Sarah from the Bookish Knitter, she reminded me of the Bookwoman book. So the Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek, I think that was a year or 2 years ago. I read that with Rainey, and that was a fantastic read. And there's a sequel to that book called The Bookwoman's Daughter. And on my Hoopla account, they didn't have it in audio like they had Troublesome Creek, but they had it in ebook. So I was like, ooh, maybe while I'm holding the baby, I'll read this in ebook. So that's what I do. So I can't hold books when I'm holding her, but I can hold my phone. So I've been trying to read that as an ebook. And I think I'm like a quarter of the way through with that. It took me a while to figure all that out. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of TV, which probably isn't good for the baby, because she's starting to kind of watch it with me too, which I don't think you're supposed to have babies watch TV. Oh well. Anywho, so that's what I've been doing, which leads me to Cheryl's question. Can I read and bounce the little one? No. I can't really bounce and read. But like I said before, I have been able to get the ebook on my phone, which is really great. Christy asked, what books are you excited to read with your new baby girl? So we've kind of been reading a little bit. Like I would start to try to read to her and she would get really agitated. I think she's just too young. But I would say like this week, so she just recently turned 3 months. She's a little bit more engaged on the books, like not for a long time. Like she can't do it for a long time because she gets kind of bored. But she does get a little bit engaged. So I've been reading some Dr. Seuss books, which I don't think they're from Dr. Seuss, but they're in these books that are like beginner books, and it's like Seuss, but in the inside they have different authors. So I don't know. And some of the books that we got at the shower. So like the reason why I like the Seuss book is because there's a couple of stories in there, so I could just read from the one until she starts crying and doesn't want me to continue. But what I'm excited for is when we get into like the books that I really liked when I was a kid, like the Corduroy Bear. I really liked that that book. I really am looking forward to reading her all of the Pooh books, the Winnie the Pooh books, my Beatrix Potter book. I'm really excited to read her the Giving Tree book. I'm really excited for all of the Eric Carle books. So I'm excited for the books that I remember as a kid, which I read her Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. Y'all look up that book. I have no idea why kids love that book. It's not that good. Like, I read it and I was like, this is Chicka Chicka Boom Boom? It's just a bunch of letters that are trying to get up a tree, and they all get up there and they fall down, and the adult letters come and pick them back up, and it has some rhyming in it. The best thing about that book are the colors, because it's so colorful, so bold and everything. But I was like, this is Chicka Chicka Boom Boom? I totally did not remember this being Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. I thought Chicka Chicka Boom Boom was something completely different. But Chicka Chicka Boom Boom is just a bunch of letters rhyming up a tree, up the coconut tree, which is crazy because I loved that book, and so many. It's a beloved book. It's not that great. Naomi asked, have you found any new kids books that are amazing? I really haven't. I've been really homebound with her. She hasn't received any of her immunizations yet. Doctors want to wait until after her surgery. So we're being really cautious with where we go and if she's there and all that kind of stuff. So I've been kind of at home. I haven't really done any book shopping. I got a few books at rummage sales that I went to because they were outside, but I haven't really done a lot like that. But some of the books that we were gifted, I'm excited that I've never seen them before. There's this one about these cows. It's like click, clack, click, click, clack, clack, moo, moo, or something like that. So it's these cows that are typing letters to the farmer because they want electric blankets because they're cold in the barn. And then the farmer says, no, you're cows. And then they like boycott their milk, which, by the way, you can't boycott milk. You need to be milked. So it doesn't make sense. But again, it's a kid's book. So, I mean, whatever. I think too much into things. Okay. What have I missed here? I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Debbie, I love the DoubleBookedCo bookmarks. I started a beach read yesterday, and I'm using the old-fashioned women's swimsuits one. Oh, yes, those are so cute. So for any of you who don't know, myself and Laura from Book Bubbler, we own a Etsy shop company called DoubleBookedCo. And we sell bookmarks and other bookish gifts. Debbie, if you're looking for some beach bookmarks, we do have that one set, but we are also this coming new product launch, which is tomorrow. You're going to see a lot more beach themed bookmarks. So if you're interested, take a look at that. But your vintage swimsuit one, that one is super cute. If anyone else wants to look at that, they're in our shop. They're part of one of our summer collections. Yeah, those are super cute. I love those. And that is on one of our thicker papers. So it's like a really durable bookmark. It's really cool. Yeah, every once in a while we find like the coolest papers. And the thing is as creators in that area, they look really great when you first buy them. And then when you cut them out, you're like, okay, I can see where this is going. Once we like complete them and they're fully laminated and they're all done, oh my gosh, they look fantastic. So we get really excited about our bookmarks. So thank you for bringing that up. We really appreciate that. Oh yeah, here's Laura. Yes, we really love that. Thank you. No! Oh, I thought I was going to get Colin and Penelope. Now I have to read about Benedict. Darn it, that's right. And that's when I remember you telling me about that book. That one's like supposed to be like Cinderella, or it feels like Cinderella. Ugh. Fine, I will read it. And then I can read about Colin and Penelope. Jeez Louise. Debbie, favorite one is Pyrex one. Love the seed packet one. Fun to pick theme bookmarks. Yes, the Pyrex one. Oh my gosh, when we found that paper, I think Laura found that paper. And when we saw it, we were like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then once we cut it out, we love that paper. That whole line, the vintage kitchen one. Oh, I love so many of those. It's so hard. Like, it's been really hard to not like, oh, I'm going to take one of these for myself. And I'm going to take one of these for myself. Like, I'm still using silly receipts and stuff for bookmarks because I want to keep all the bookmarks in our shop because they really are fantastic. So, oh, it's added to your bookmark collecting problem. They are small and useful. I do love bookmarks. I love looking at them more than anything. Naomi, yes, it's Click Clack Moo. Yeah, it is cute. And then Click Clack Quack. Because at the very end of that book, the ducks get the typewriter, so then it's Click Clack Quack. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hi, Stacy. Chicka chicka. Yeah. You do at the beginning of the year to identify letters. Very good. So that's what it's for. Yeah, I thought it was so funny because I just remember loving that book, and then I'm like, this is not at all what I remember. But yeah, chicka chicka boom boom. I think it's just because it's fun to say as a kid too, like chicka chicka boom boom. Like even as an adult, because now when I talk to my baby, I'll like go chicka chicka boom boom with her cheeks. Be like chicka chicka boom boom, chicka chicka boom boom, chicka chicka boom boom, and then she laughs. So yeah. So many kids book. Eyes That Kiss in the Corner is wonderful. Oh, I don't think I've ever heard of that one. I'll have to take a look. Yes, those are fun too. I have a lot of minis from that when we did that special order. So I look at those every once in a while. I'm like, I should probably just send those out and see if anyone's like, oh my gosh, some wine, woohoo! Ay. Let's see here. I think we're almost done with questions. Oh, here's one I kind of talked about. So I've been watching a lot of TV lately because it's easier to just, when I'm doing stuff with her, to just have the TV on as opposed to trying to read, which sounds terrible because I would prefer to read. But I also have gone many, many years without really watching a lot of TV. So I feel like I'm like catching up. And I've been watching a lot of like Hulu. So as far as favorite shows to binge, I wouldn't say like I have a favorite show by any means, but I've been like finding new shows. So I've been binging Modern Family, which I never watched before, and really liking that. That show is pretty clever and funny. My favorite character is Phil Dunphy. I think he's hilarious. I'm sorry, my voice is starting to go out, so I'm gonna have to like stop soon. And I watched all of Abbott Elementary, which was funny. Reminds me of The Office. I always binge Bridgerton. I watch Bridgerton within like 1 or 2 days. This second season, I've only watched the one time. The first season, I think I watched like 3 times. Oh my gosh. Only Murders in the Building started back up on Hulu. And I watched that entire series pretty quickly when it first came out. And I'm all caught up in all of the episodes. I think there's like 3 episodes out right now. And as soon as the new episode pops up, I watch it. That's a fantastic show. I love that show. I'm pretty impressed with Selena Gomez. I never really saw her as like a serious actor before. And she does I think she does a really great job in this show. I love Martin Short. I love Steve Martin. So that's a really great show to watch. What else have I been watching? I, of course, watch all of my Disney YouTubers like religiously. Like I watch them every day. As soon as their new video goes up, I'm like on it. But as far as TV shows, I watched all of Somebody Feed Phil. So that's a show that I really love. I really like food shows. So anything with food. So I watched MasterChef Junior. I watched Ugly Delicious. Somebody Feed Phil. There was another food show that I feel like I'm missing. Oh, Iron Chef. So Netflix picked up Iron Chef. Watched all of those. Yeah, I really like food shows. So I would say if I were to say a favorite show to binge, like Bridgerton, and then food shows. And I will rewatch them. So I just put somebody feed Phil on for no reason. Just put it on because it's fantastic. Speaking of YouTube, so BookTube and my channel. So a few questions on that. Let me make sure these comments I didn't like. Oh, man. So true, Cheryl. So true. There's a little bit of a spoiler there with the ducks. But it's still worth the read. Click, Clack, Quack is about a duckling that won't go to sleep. It's so cute. I should find that one. What was really cute about the Click, Clack, Moo book is I got it at the baby shower, and I got it with a cow stuffed animal and then a hand crocheted, I don't know how else you would crochet it, but a crocheted blanket that was purple, black, and white. So it matched. So it was all this like matching set. It was super cute. Super, super cute. Yeah, I totally did. Yeah. Oops. It's only like 10 pages, so everyone should love it. Yeah. I'm all good. That's a super cute little cow. Okay. So anywho, back to the new section, BookTube channel. I promise we are almost done, and I do have to go because I'm losing my voice, and I just got a text message from my husband that he ordered pizza, and it's coming up to my 3-hour mark to feed the baby. So I got to make this quick. I want to thank everyone for my 1,000 subscribers. That's crazy. I really, like, in the back of my mind, I didn't think it was going to take this long, but at the same time, once you're actually in it, I am so thankful because wow, I got to 1,000 subscribers. You know, when you see other people's channels and how many subscribers, you assume they got them like easy peasy, and it's really not. In our niche community of this BookTube community, it does really take a lot. Sometimes people just like go off and build a bunch of subscribers, but they're like really niche down. They're like young adult, they've got crazy awesome channels. I'm just kind of like here. I'm just like this little channel that talks about older books people really don't care about sometimes. So I'm so excited that 1,000 people care enough to at least check out what I'm doing. So thank you so much. I'm really happy that I am a small channel because the community that I've built here, all of you that I talk to, I really feel really close with, and you all make me happy, and I feel like we have a better connection than, you know, if I had 10,000 subscribers and like didn't know any of you. And that's not my intention. I'm not here to not know the people who follow me. I really want this to be a community, and that's what I'm building here. So yay! Anywho, so within BookTube, Nell asked what my favorite BookTube channel is, and who I'm watching, who I'm reading, kind of thing. We already talked about what I'm reading. So as far as BookTube channels go, like I can't say that I really have a favorite. One, because that's terrible. I would never want to like be like, oh, this is my favorite BookTube channel. I definitely have like a group of favorite BookTubers. But that has definitely evolved over time because when I first started, and you can go back and look at my terrible beginner videos, and especially in like the newbie tag where you like say who you like, and it's always like these big channels because they're the channels that you find when you start to look for YouTube video or BookTube videos, or these big channels. And the more you're in BookTube and you're a creator in BookTube, the less you actually like them. For me, and I'm not going to name any of the names of these big BookTubers, but the more I got into this community, the less I am watching. Like, I don't watch any of their stuff anymore because I feel like that's not the community that I want to be a part of. This is the community that I want to be a part of, which is smaller, which is, you know, more attentive to the subscribers. And not to say that they're not attentive. I'm not saying that there's one better than the other, but I just feel like there's a closer knit group here. And I think Books Like Whoa said it best when she said it's kind of like high school grades, like a grade level when you have like a class. So a lot of the booktubers that started around the same time as I did, those are like some of my favorite people. Like, and a lot of you are here, like Kim from Bookmarks and Breadsticks. I love watching her stuff because it's stuff that I don't typically pick up. And being a person who loves food shows and loves learning about food, she has opened my eyes to food books. So I've been reading more about food books. And because I don't really know the direction to go to read, it's nice to watch her stuff because then I can kind of like get a direction. And she's able to help you find things. So like she's one of the booktubers that I watch. I still watch all of my faves like Christy Lewis when she makes videos. She's fantastic. Naomi's Bookshelf. I love watching her stuff because she reads so much. So it's nice to do that. She does cool stuff with like Clue. I really love Heidi from My Reading Life. She reads a lot of nonfiction books, which I wish I would get more into nonfiction. So I really love listening to her, and she's so like succinct when she speaks. She's just so, she can fit so much into like 10 minutes. I love listening to her talk about books. Of course, Krista from Books and Jams. I love watching her. I don't think I ever miss one of her vlogs. Vlogs are one of my favorite things to watch now. I really do love watching vlogs. Yeah, all of the people that kind of started around the same time as me, and from, I think she changed her channel name to, I know, Ange's Book Chatter. It used to be Ange with an E. And then Emily from Novel Novels. And there's so many people that I love watching. And I don't watch them consistently. I obviously watch Nell. Nell has a new channel now. And her husband, Scott, they have Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. And then now Nell has done a new channel, Book Hunt, I think is how you say it. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's supposed to be clever. But anywho, so we watch them. When I say we, I mean me, myself, and I. I love vlogs. I really do. I'm so all over the place too. I'm trying to think of my feed. And I've been watching a lot less BookTube lately just because when I have it on my TV, it'll like play randomly. And then all of a sudden it'll just start playing like BookTube channels that I'm not even subscribed to, which irritates me because I wanted to like do my feed, which I can make a queue on my laptop or my phone, but I can't figure it out on my TV. So I've been watching less of that because I don't like when it starts to go off in its own little tangent. That's irritating to me. I like Ashley over at Bookish Realm. She has really great stuff. I love that she can bring her career into it because she's a librarian. So she does really fantastic videos. I like her a lot. I like watching the BookTube Prize channel because that kind of gives me the new books and how well they're doing. Even though I don't really read a lot of new books. Gosh, I feel like there's like a whole list of people that I should be saying right now, and I'm not. But yeah, Amanda from the Curly Reader, Lindsay's Little Library. Yeah, Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. No, that's something she does. Sarah, yeah. Oh, I can't think of her channel name now. Sarah at Bookish Knitter. I love her stuff. Even though I don't read a lot of what she reads, I love listening to her talk about the books because she's so excited about it. I really do like listening to her talk about books. And she's been doing vlogs lately, so I like vlogs. I love vlogs. I don't know why I got into vlogs, but I really like watching vlogs. And I like making vlogs now too. But I think that's another question that someone asked me. Oh yeah, right here. Christy asked me what is my favorite kind of BookTube videos to watch and to create. So I really like watching vlogs. There are certain vlogs that I don't like though. There are certain vlogs that people don't really talk in. They just kind of like do a bunch of B-roll and like put words in. And I don't like that because a lot of the time I'm not always watching it. I'm like listening and doing something and watching it. So if it's like words in there, I'm like, well, I have to read it. And I'm not going to watch. I can't keep my eyes on this the whole time. So I love Krista's vlogs because there's like a little bit of what she's doing. There's a little bit of her talking. There's a little bit of her talking about the book she's reading. I really like her vlogs. And then obviously all the Disney vlogs. I love those vlogs. They're so awesome. I watch a lot of Disney stuff. Like a lot. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel bad because I feel like I should have been more prepared to like a list of YouTubers that I love. But they're all amazing. You're very welcome, Kim. Hi, Mary. Oh, that's okay. It's so good to see you. I was just talking about you. Yes, just in time for your questions. Absolutely. And then there were some random questions that I didn't know where to put, so they're just going to be here, and there's really only 2 of them. So Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, he's obsessed with the second question, but I'll answer the first one first. So what is the silliest thing you've ever done? And the only thing I could think of, because I'm not really that silly of a person. I mean, I think I'm silly, but I'm also one of those people that really cares what people think, so like I won't do a lot of things just because. But when I was in high school, when it was like superhero day or something like that, it was like homecoming week or some week where they make you dress up like things. My friend and I decided we were going to make bubble wrap suits. Because if you are from my generation, the movie Dude, Where's My Car with Ashton Kutcher and Sean William Penn, who was at the time very sexy. I think he's in a new show actually, just recently. I think it's on Hulu. Anywho, the people who believed in aliens or whatever, Zoltar or Zoltan or whatever it was, they were dressed in bubble wrap suits because it protected them from like the atmosphere if they were to go to this planet with this leader that they believed was a thing. I don't know. So we literally, at the time, I worked at a gift shop and we would unload a bunch of gifts items that we would put in the store and it would be wrapped in bubble wrap. So I had access to all of this bubble wrap and I was like, my friend's name was Megan. I was like, Megan, I have all of this bubble wrap for superhero day. Because we have an excuse to dress up like something and none of the teachers can tell us that we can't wear it, we should make bubble wrap suits. So we did. I went and spent the night at Megan's house and we basically duct taped all this bubble wrap into clothes. So we had full on like clothes. We had a jacket like and it like tied. We tied it closed. And then we had full on pants and a hat. And we wore these bubble wrap suits to school. Now, when you are a geek, dork, like smart kid that isn't very popular, and when I say isn't very popular, I mean not popular and part of the nerd group, and you wear a bubble wrap suit to school, people get real handsy. I can tell you, at lunch, I kept getting like popped, like people like push you and like they see you from like a mile away and they want to like lean into you or fall into you to see if you pop. Yeah, not the best choice, but we had a lot of fun and we made it into the yearbook. So I will say that that was probably the silliest thing I've ever done is make a bubble wrap suit and wear it to school. And to this day, Megan's mom still brings it up because it's like a memory we'll always have, and it's just hilarious. It's just something funny that we did. It was super fun. I'll never forget it, and I'm glad we did. It didn't get me any more popular, and everyone forgot about it by the next day. But at the time, it was fun. I know one teacher wasn't really happy about it because the class kept like trying to pop my bubbles the whole class, so he was kind of pissed, but whatever, it is what it is. And then Scott, you keep asking me this question, so if you're watching this in replay, I hope you are because I'm answering it right here at the very tail end, almost 2 hours, and I so appreciate you all being here. Why do you think bread is better than dessert? First of all, I have never ever said that bread is better than dessert. What I have said is bread is better than cake because I had bread at my wedding as opposed to having cake. And what why do I think bread is better than dessert? I don't think bread is better. I know bread is better. And let me just tell you something about bread. Bread is fantastic. There are so many breads. There are sweet breads. There are savory breads. There are things in breads. There are things rolled into breads. There are sour breads. I mean, there are every breads in the whole wide world. There's breads in different regions of the world. There are so many breads. And desserts are good, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I didn't say desserts are better or worse. I just don't like cake. Cake is kind of like, it's like a really lame version of bread. It's not as dense as bread. And then it has this crap frosting on it, which is gross. Like, I don't like frosting. Frosting, unless it's frozen frosting, like a frozen buttercream, like when you get a sheet cake from a grocery store and it's frozen and you eat it like that, now that's good cake. And you know why? Because it tastes, or it has the consistency of bread. Bread is best. Bread is fantastic. My favorite bread is banana bread. I even like it with nuts. I don't like it with chocolate, but banana bread is the best. Second would be sourdough bread. Third would be like a cinnamon roll, and I would categorize that as bread. I would even categorize pretzels, like big pretzels, as like a bread, because I really like pretzels. Like soft pretzels, like homemade soft pretzels. Those are fantastic. Peanut butter bread, zucchini bread, cranberry bread. Oh, there's so many breads that are fantastic. Bread. I love bread. The only bread I don't like is the bread that has garlic in it. And I love garlic. But this whole like putting big cloves of garlic in a bread and then eating that, not cool. I don't want a big bite of garlic in my mouth. That's just not for me. It's just not for me. So to finally answer your question, Scott, that's how I feel about bread. Yes, if you want to collab on a bread video or a bread book or something like that, let me know. I will read a book about bread and then I will collab with you as long as we can eat bread. Naomi, it is so important. Bread is so important. I mean, bread. I mean, it's one of the only things that like since sliced bread. I mean, who can say that? Who can say that? And that's from Wonder Bread, which is like one of the worst breads. I mean, can you even categorize that as bread? But whatever. My maternal grandfather used to have soup as dessert if we went to a buffet. Yeah, I mean, the French have it right, where they have a cheese plate. I mean, that's fantastic. And like I said, I do like desserts. I just prefer bread. Bread is fantastic. And like, oh, so good. You're breaking my heart. I heart all cake and frosting. Yeah, hey, to each their own. To each their own. Bread is amazing. I am hearing my baby screaming. She is hungry. I do have to get going to feed her. I'm going to do a couple of these last comments. Can't imagine if you do. It was gluten-free. I know. I can't even think about that. I have to put that out of my head. Yes, let's do it. I think I remember that. I think I do remember that. But anywho, everyone, I appreciate you all so much. Oh, there was one last question. Jeremy asked what's up with the elephant in the room. So in my picture or in my last video, I was in the nursery and I have a big elephant in the rocking chair. It's just one of the baby stuffed animals. So that's what they have to say about the elephant in the room. It's literally an elephant in the room. Okay, I do have to go. I feel terrible that she is screaming because it's a little bit past her feeding time. So I do have to go and help with that. But thank you, everyone. I cannot believe we went 2 hours. But I can because I have just been talking. It's such a blessing to be back and be talking with all of you. I will continue my regular programming. So I will be here on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I'm hoping to get those vlogs back up and going. It might not be an everyday clip thing, but it'll definitely be from the week. And I'm excited to get more into reading. Again, it won't be as much as I used to read, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm so thankful for all of you who have reached out. Allie, Melinda, Krista, so many of you have sent things. Rainy, thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it. All of the wonderful messages that you have sent through Instagram and on the comments. So I feel so blessed and thankful. If we missed anything or you have any additional questions, you know, I'm an open book and we'll get there together. So looking forward to seeing you again on Tuesday for an upcoming video, and love all of you. Hi Kim, love you too. Good night Pam. Thanks Naomi. Yes, thanks Christy. Yes, garlic and bread, nasty. Okay, love you all so much. Thank you all for being here. If you're watching this in replay as well, thank you so much. I hope you all have a good night. I hope you're taking care, staying safe, and of course, reading something great. So we'll see you next time. Happy reading. Bye.